Hello, Dr. Frankenstein.
Actually, that's Frankenstein.
Frankenstein?
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. I thought it was what Frankenstein, isn't it? Frankenstein?
It's actually Frankenstein. You must be Igor.
No, it's Igor.
Could have sworn it was Igor.
All right, I can't do this anymore. I'm trying. do you pronounce it Frodrick?
Frodrick. That's right.
Anyways, if you didn't know what we're talking about today, we're actually our bonus episode for the month of July. Is Young Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm. Mel Brooks film.
This is my first time watching it. I just watched it last night. I have a long history of avoiding this movie. Not like really avoiding it. It's just
not really getting a chance to see it.
Or? Yeah, well, I was prevented to. I mean, we've mentioned this on the podcast a few times. So my first experience of Young Frankenstein was on an English field trip to New York City.
Our senior year, our big field trip.
Yep. And
me and another student were in charge of bringing movies to it. I brought this movie. I brought, and now for something completely different, like the Monty Python sketch compilation. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember what the other one was, but yes.
Oh, I think I know what the other one was too. Like it was, it was one of those like indie movies that everyone was obsessed with. But I think we ended up watching like a lot of Sex in the City. On that bus ride, but like everyone complained about Young Frankenstein. We watched up to the moment where they got to the castle, because I kind of like, as I'm watching it last night, I'm like, okay, this is where it stopped. I remember where it stopped now. They turned it off right here. And
so wait, did you get to see the what knockers? That's you, Doctor.
Yeah. Oh no, literally, it's the part where the lady, what's her name?
Inga.
No, the other lady that introduces them when they get to the castle.
Oh, Frau Blücher?
Oh. Yes, that person.
Her.
What was that? But yeah, that was where we were. That's where it turned off. Like you seeing the horses is literally, I think, where they cut that film off, and I'm like, oh,
I couldn't believe it. Like people were booing. They're like, I don't want to watch this black and white movie. I'm like, it was made in the 80s. Like. Yeah. It's not a black and white. I'm like,
But thinking of black and white, though, just so you know, if you're listening to our bonus episode, I have the video up as well on our Patreon page, in which we are in black and white. So if you're ever curious what we look like in black and white, go check it out.
Yeah, a la Young Frankenstein, we decided to be in black and white. Now, I have to say, Justin, this was a movie that I liked a lot. Especially at that time when we were on our English field trip, but it was a movie that I didn't rewatch a lot, and then I did see it a while back, like 5-6 years ago, and I was like, I don't think I like this movie anymore.
It's slow.
I think I figured out why, and I feel like I appreciate it more now because it really does a good job of parodying like the 1930s Frankenstein, right, and Bride of Frankenstein, like. After seeing those like as an adult and then watching this again, I was like, oh, like this is why it's slow paced. There's weird, like the sets are set in the way that they are. They use the matte paintings instead of actually filming the set. All like these little elements of like the way that people talk to each other.
So I have a question for you before we get into like, because this is gonna be a weird format show, and I feel like all we're gonna do is just quote the movie the entire time. But was this made before Blazing Saddles, or was this one of his earlier ones?
No, Blazing Saddles came before this, I think. Yeah,
really?
This is. I think this is after Blazing Saddles, before Spaceballs. So
what about?
I don't know.
History of the World Part 1.
I think this is after History of the World Part 1.
Okay.
I would need to look that up, which I may do at this very
Go
moment.
ahead, you do it for me. But anyways, I just was curious because I feel like, I mean, this is where I think like it definitely has that sense of parody, which you got from Blazing Saddles, which is a parody of a Western. Then you have a parody of a horror. He ends up doing a better parody horror, I feel like, later on with Living Dead with Liam Neeson. Not Liam
Oh,
Neeson.
Dead and Loving It?
Dead and Loving
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, I love Dead and Loving It. That's a good one.
Really?
I enjoyed that one. Oh, we could definitely talk about that. That was good
Okay.
stuff. That was good stuff.
Well, this movie...
That was his last
came
one, I
out
think,
in-
wasn't it?
Was it really? Dead and Loving It? Oh, man.
That came out after Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure
Okay.
that was his last film. Was Dead and Loving It.
So 1974 was Young Frankenstein.
Mhm.
And I can pull up here his film career, his filmography. So oh my goodness. Justin, what a year to be alive in 1974, because Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein came out in the same year.
Wow!
Can you believe that? Blazing Saddles came out first. Young Frankenstein came out after it.
So he almost like filmed at the same time then.
So his filmography for Mel Brooks. So the producers, the 12 Chairs, then Blazing Saddles,
Wow.
then Young Frankenstein, then Silent Movie, High Anxiety, which is I think a Alfred Hitchcock parody,
Okay.
and then History of the World Part 1 in 81, Spaceballs in 87, Life Stinks, I don't know what that is, Robin Hood Men in Tights in 93, and then Dracula Dead and Loving It 95. So, yeah.
They
that's
should
pretty-
they should do History of the World Part 2 someday.
They
have
I
a lot
wonder
of-
if he's just waiting.
They're waiting for the Trump administration to end, right? It's gonna be.
Oh my god! Apparently, there is a Oh my goodness! There is a movie called Blazing Samurai, inspired by Mel Brooks' seminal 1974 Western comedy film Blazing Saddles, directed by Chris Bailey. What the hell is this?
Okay. Moving on.
Okay, all right.
Back to
Blazing Samurai? No, this can't be right. That's got to be a joke. But there it is in black and white. Yeeks.
Anyways, Young Frankenstein. So I only asked that question because obviously a lot of the actors show up in this. That's why I was wondering when it was made.
Yeah.
You have so many different actors. Like the Creature was in that. Obviously, Gene Wilder, who really is an amazing actor. Like I love everything he's in. It's really hard to really not like him. It's like he just does such a he's just like the delivery of him, like his line delivery is like chef's kiss. Is that
Some of, like the way he like pauses with things and like just like changing the tone of his voice when he gets stuck in the bookshelf and they're pulling the candle and it goes silent and he's like, "Now whatever you do, do not put the candle back."
Yeah.
It's just so good. It's like he knows when to play it very subtle and when to be loud.
Yeah, it's a weird comparison, but I don't think it's the same. I feel like he's way better, but he's sort of like a Will Ferrell in a certain weird way. Like he has a sense of tone. Like he knows to get really loud and then he can get really soft. Like he has a kind of a range of comedic timing, I guess.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
Like
I see what you mean. Yeah.
It's like you got Will Ferrell who can be very like quaint and silent, like his like SNL stuff, right? But then you have like his like crazy wild when he's like yelling. Well, one of the skits where like more cowbell where he's like loud and obnoxious. Like,
Yeah.
that's Gene Wilder to me in a nutshell. Like so you got him just like yelling in the beginning of the movie. So if we want to start from the beginning, it's like him in the little like laboratory teaching people, right? And his very like subtle like kind of like teacherly thing, but then all of a sudden the guy where he comes in, he's like you mother, how you, he starts like getting mad with the guy and kicking him in the balls and like
you mother loving, no, like kicks him and he's like, give him an extra $1 as he's on like wheeling him on the way out. But the way he reacts to the med student who is like,
Yep.
"Aren't you at least interested in your grandfather's legacy?" And he's like, "My grandfather's legacy is doo-doo."
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that was kind of interesting with this too. It's like I always forget that like when this movie I guess was made, like it would be his grandfather. It's like I think I always think of the story.
1931 and 1974.
I always think of Frankenstein as like way in the past, which I guess would be only 100 years ago, roughly for us. But like you think it's like, when did it take place? Technically, the story, like is it the original
the book
story?
is written in like 1818. It's like really early 19th century book. But the movie is 1931, the original Frankenstein movie. So if we're talking like movie version to movie, like,
oh, okay,
yeah, it is. It is like you could see like this being the sequel to Frankenstein instead of Bride and all those. It's like Frankenstein and then Young Frankenstein. Like you can make a case for those things connecting. But I like your. I want to stay with this idea of Will Ferrell. This idea of like comedic range, because Gene Wilder definitely has it. I think better than Will Ferrell, but
yes, as I said, yeah,
I absolutely agree. This idea of like when he's really loud and boisterous, it's funny, but it's almost better when he plays it quiet. And I think that's true for Will Ferrell too, because like when he's quiet, like for whatever reason, he's funnier. Like the things that he says, just because it's coming from him.
But it's only funny because of that range. You know, it's like he doesn't have that range if he's never.
You know, he can scream and rage, and that's funny. Yes. But then when he plays it even quiet, it makes it even more funny because you're like, oh my god, like he's just holding it all in.
Well, like any role he has, like I guess even Blazing Saddles, because I know we're going to jump around a lot with this, but like he doesn't really get like that loudness too much, right? In Blazing Saddle, he's very very somber, but like you've seen him in other films, so you kind of even still have that reference. Like you think about just the way he is in Willy Wonka, right? Like he has this like calmness
moments,
but then he just is like just very, 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 very loud. So it's like this one I think really kind of showcased it more than any other film though, because there is a lot of extremes. But like just I guess like my initial thoughts of this movie. You asked me this before we started this, because I know we kind of like came in kind of weird here, jumping around. But like I guess like as a Mel Brooks film. And it could be just bad timing. It took me too long to watch it. Like I said, the reason why I didn't watch this because they just turned it off on me, and I don't know, just somehow just never had access to it, or just it never was put in front of me again to just sit down and watch it. Because this is one of those things. It's like, you know, if I had a choice between a black and white film or like, you know, maybe something else, I might not pick the black and white film usually. You know, you kind of have to have that kind of mood to do it, and
it's not one of those like great films too that people are like The Godfather or something. You know, like you have to see this movie, or like like one of those movies. I know that's why I mentioned it. Listeners, Justin has never seen Godfather, but I mean like 2001: A Space Odyssey, or like one of these like seminal motion pictures. It's not like one of those like where you feel like you have to see it. It's just you've seen Mel Brooks movies. I think you and I both got into Mel Brooks from Spaceballs. I think that was probably
my first one was Spaceballs was big, but I think History of the World Part 1 is when I started really understanding that, because my cousins actually watched a lot. They're around the same time, but I remember falling in love with History of the World Part 1 first. Like that in my mind, but like then Spaceballs came later. Because remember, I always thought Spaceballs wasn't a comedy. I thought it was an actually good movie.
Thought it was part of a series. What's going to happen to Lone Star and Barf next? Like I didn't understand. Like I was too young to understand like what a parody was.
Yeah,
and it's like no, they're not going to do any more of these. Like this was a one-shot deal.
Like where History of the World Part 1 like was, I could tell even as a kid that was supposed to be a comedy, right? It was just really funny, but. But this one, like, I feel like because of pacing and because of the slowness, and I just think there was maybe it was just the type of acting, the style of it, just the kind of the Broadway-esque to it. Like, I don't know why he has to think he has to bring Broadway stuff in here all the time. It's like,
but look, it's. I feel like you need to see the 1931 Frankenstein again, and then watch this, and you're like, my God, it is a perfect parody of this.
That's the thing I noticed while watching it last night. Like, I'm like, this could be a legit good movie. Like, well, a legit, like, this could have been what you would think a monster movie would be without the silly jokes and stuff. Like,
if you take away a lot of the humor,
yeah,
like the same story beats as a regular.
It looked good. They had the effects right. Like the cinematography of it, like for that kind of type of movie, was really, really good. Like
a nice bat on a string, you know.
I didn't notice that actually.
I love bats on strings. I just think it's such a nice touch.
But you go from the beginning. There's something I wanted to touch on right from the get-go here, and we can kind of maybe go through the movie and maybe give our thoughts on certain things. But there was a part in the beginning of the movie, and Amber was kind of watching the first part of this with me, Like, she kind of was like, okay, I'll watch a little bit, but I think she got bored and then just left the room. She had to do stuff too, so it wasn't like I just kind of threw it on. But it's like in the beginning where he learns that he has this inheritance, which, first off, I love how he's just like, I hate my grandfather's doo-doo, let's doo-doo stuff. The second he walks in the mansion, he's like, all right, I'm going to do this now. It's like, there's no...
I love it. I love it. Yes, he has like a prophetic dream sleeping in his grandfather's bed, like with a big oil painting of his grandfather watching him, and him saying like in his sleep, like, no, I won't do it. It's impossible. Okay, ow, okay, I give. Like he's like somebody like put his arm behind his back or something. He's like, I give. Destiny, no escaping that for me. Destiny. Like
I know it's like when they do those random
about this movie that just like it's so freaking silly. Like it doesn't even care. Like it's doing all the things like a monster movie like this would do. Like, okay, then he's gonna take over his grandfather's work, but instead of like it being like this revelation, it's like somebody is strong-arming him in his dreams and like, okay, you're gonna do it. And he's like, I don't want to.
Then he just starts singing a random song, which honestly, like I was like, listen, like it sounds like a modern day song too. Like the way he sings, it's like a rap.
Well, I mean, putting on the Ritz is in this movie, so
I know. Guess we'll get to that. By the way,
let me just say, like at this time, we have like if we're progressing through the movie, he gets the inheritance. He goes there. That's where he meets. Well, before he does, you meet his betrothed.
Yes, I want to back up to that. That's what I wanted to bring up. So
I love that scene.
Betrothed.
That's Elizabeth.
Yes,
she's his like wealthy backer, right? Too. She's like she's also like bankrolling him.
Oh, I guess like, that's like it really doesn't come off that way. He's just fiance that he can't have sex with. That's really all she is.
Yeah, that he can't have sex with. He did say something though, like this is my money. I mean, honey, like something like that. Like something you're like, oh,
but I love it.
My financier. I mean, my fiance.
So Amber was watching this part and she just started laughing the whole time because it's like they're trying to say goodbye. The whole entire time, right?
Not the lips.
Not the lips. Not the cheeks.
Cheeks.
But no, they do the elbow bump, like in social, like
they do. So, I will just say a term of endearment in my household between my wife and I is taffeta, darling. We just go taffeta, darling, and she's like, "No, it's taffeta. Don't lean on it."
It wrinkles easily.
Yes. So she is very like prim and proper, doesn't want to be like, and they can't have sex yet, and she's very like catty or like cagey about it. That's it.
She's such a different role than Blazing Saddles. Like it's weird.
From Madeline Kahn.
I think that was the hard part with her. Like out of all the actors, like with Gene Wilder, I can separate the two, right? Like he does a good job at like separation. But her,
it's like night and day, right?
Yeah, like for her, I just all I do is see the character from Blazing Saddles, whatever her name is. I'm so tired.
Oh, okay. She's the Teutonic Titwillow. Her name is Lili von Stuck. Von what? Right. Von Stuck. Listeners, I hope you're like ready for all the sound effects we're going to be bringing to this, because not only ones you may be hearing, that are added in later, but also the ones we produce. So he goes to Transylvania, gets on the train, meets his new servant named Igor. Who's very, I love Marty Feldman, man, because I had never seen him in anything other than this movie. But apparently because he's from England, he's done a lot of like stuff for the BBC, and he had his own show. So he's apparently like a pretty renowned like comedian over there. But his delivery of things, that's like the most modern thing about this movie, is just like him like looking at the camera and being like, well, that ain't like, he's like the lamp from the Flintstones. He's just like, it's a living. He's just talking directly to the audience.
Which I think like they do that in Blazing Saddles. Obviously, they break that fourth wall, and a lot of the Mel Brooks movies do that. But it did feel a little bit even more so weird with him in this one. It's like because
very obvious.
Yeah, because you already are kind of like sold that this is a horror-esque movie with just the presentation, right? But like, I feel like that's what makes this movie kind of actually really exciting. Because I have to say, though I think I say this is like a mediocre Mel Brooks movie. Maybe it's because I haven't seen it so many times. Like a lot of the other ones, I've seen multiple times. I have this like kind of feeling that like I know what to expect. I'm waiting for the joke that I love, and I can see myself watching this again, maybe, and like remembering certain things. Like I'm already having that feeling already just from the second day. But like,
that's the thing about. Oh, go ahead. Well,
no, but I just want to say, like, I was giggling a lot watching this film, even though there was a lot of weird pacing. Like, it was kind of slow, and some of it was kind of like, it's like, okay, like, really? Like, there's some things later in the movie I don't really quite like as much, but, like, because it was a weird direction they took it. But, like...
Sure.
But, like, overall, it's a Mel Brooks movie, and all through and through. There's no, like, question about it. There's not... Like, it's what Mel Brooks is. It's just I prefer Mel Brooks in different styles, I guess.
Sure. And I mean, you and I, we've seen, like, Blazing Saddles is, like, the perfect example for this, because we've seen that movie so many times. We know, like, the big laughs that we watch it now looking for, like, the little subtle things that happen in between the big laughs, and then those become big laughs for us because we're just, like, watching the, like, them interact and, like, hey, did you notice this? And it's like, yes. Like, that's what, like, Blazing Saddles feels like it's packed to the brim with jokes, because I feel like we're more used to watching Westerns than we are these kinds of, like, old Universal horror movies.
Yeah.
So I feel like if we were watching those movies, or we had seen them recently, and if we had watched this, like, maybe a couple times, we'd be doing the same kind of thing.
But also, to add to that, watching it with somebody too. Like, I mean, that's the thing with me.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of watched it with Amber.
Movies need a community,
and like, I feel like that was one thing maybe that I missed a little bit, because I mean, I was laughing by myself, which is a good. I mean, that gets a good thumbs up for a comedy, right?
For a movie to do.
You know, like, you usually, like, if you're watching something kind of funny, it's just like you just sort of like, okay, you just sort of like laugh inside your brain. Like,
you just kind of like nod. Maybe you go,
yeah.
You know, a little.
Or
Oh, did you like that? You made the yummy noise. I thought you liked it.
I love it.
We do that all the time. We do that with our kids now. Like we'll say like, and Kristen's like, oh, did you like that? You made the yummy noise. It's strange how much Mel Brooks is like part of our vocabulary.
That's really funny. But that's the thing too. Like, there's a lot of like weird like modern modern conversation in this film. Like I just hearing Mel Brooks say the word, not Mel Brooks, Gene Wilder say the word "yummy" was just weird to me. Like, I feel like you never hear that in an old movie. You don't hear that word at all. One thing I do have a question. I have a question. Where did the word "wolf" become a slang for excitement of a large penis? That's really what I want to understand, because.
Well, I guess you have to picture it from the female perspective in this case, right? Or on the receiving end of it in this case, where you're just like, woof. You know, it's a lot to deal with. Or as Inga refers to it as, no, please, hold on, I wrote the word down. An enormous Schwanzstucker. Schwanzstucker?
He'll be very popular.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, this time watching it, I noticed that they kept saying, every time somebody like met, the monster, they'd be like, oh, you must have been the tallest boy in your class. Like, that was the reoccurring joke. I don't know why that struck me as funny. It's like, even the blind hermit who meets him is like, well, you must have been the tallest boy in your class.
Yeah. that seems great. But moving back, I know we're jumping ahead, but like...
Right. We'll get there. So he does decide, he has the destiny dream, he decides to take up his grandfather's work, But we find out later that Frau Blücher...
Man, what is that? Before that,
like, kind of like set it up.
Yeah, but before we get to him going to sleep though, with Frau Blücher. Yeah, like, she like offers him some things before he goes to bed, right? Like,
do you have the list? Please tell me you have the list.
Would you like some? I think I can find
a nightcap, doctor.
Yeah.
No. Some warm milk. Good night.
No, thank you. I'm gonna try to find it.
What
But
did she say?
the last one, the last thing she says is like, "Would you like some Ovaltine?"
All about Ovaltine. Just hearing this thick German accent, Ovaltine.
But like before, I just want we're because we go. Let's go back to like where we first meet her, right? And like she's like, "Well, follow me." And like that was one thing that Amber pointed out before she left, because she left a little bit after this. And like she just like picks up this candle, this gigantic candle.
Oh, the candelabra, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like the whole time. Amber, this is what she found funny about it. Like I found it funny just how slow she walks. She's like the candles aren't lit. Like why aren't the candles lit?
Yes. Follow me. And like takes them up the stairs, and they're like watching. But if you notice, like the light kind of like lights up, like the scene kind of lights up as if they were lit. It's so good. It's so good. You see, like this is the kind of stuff like back in the day, like in like these 1930s movies, there was no like script supervisor or somebody keeping track of continuity. Like, was this lit in the last scene? Like nobody cared. Nobody cared about continuity. So like,
was that on purpose though?
And then in another scene, I bet they'd be lit.
Yeah, I wonder if that was on purpose, though. Just I could see Mel Brooks maybe doing that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you know what I mean?
Of course. I feel like there's nothing that's done on accident in a Mel Brooks movie. I feel like like everything's a joke, and everything should be a joke. So after him and
dream.
Igor
now we go to the dream.
They go and they dig up the corpse.
But we didn't find the lab yet. They got to find the lab first. They feed the violin.
Oh, okay. I just kind of. Oh, all right. I guess the violin music is important. Yes, that certain lady who introduced him to the place, who's the caretaker of the house, sent kind of lured him down. You don't know it's her just yet, but they hear the music, and that's what gets them there. Then you have the whole scene with the bookcase and him and Inga trying to get it. Put the candle back.
That's so good. No, I love when they get down there and they see all the heads, and then it's just like Igor just like starts singing, like
I ain't got nobody. Yeah, like he just starts singing like a David Lee Roth song. I think. No, it's like a 1950s song.
David Lee Roth.
Well, hey, he covered it. All right, yeah. Then he sends Igor out to go and retrieve specifically the brain of Hans Delbruck, a renowned historian.
I do want to make one comment, just a subtle joke. For some reason, this made me laugh, and I don't know why. It's when he finds the book, the journal. It's like How I Did It.
By Victor Frankenstein. How I did.
It's like that's like the same humor that you get from Spaceballs, which I never laughed like for ages and ages, like at that scene ever until we went and saw it in theaters. Was that bumper sticker, right? It's like that for some reason where it says like we
break for no one.
We break for Uranus or something like that, or what?
Oh, all right, yeah.
I remember I never laughed at that, but when I see it in theaters, like I laugh like crazy. Like here, that made me giggle the same way. It's like How I Did It.
How I Did It. Because you expect these like old books, and like doesn't he like blow the dust off of it and like kind of look How I Did It by Victor Frankenstein. Honestly, it reminds me of Simpsons humor because of when Sideshow Bob ran for mayor of Springfield and won it, and like Lisa was like, "Oh, I'm sure you weren't smart enough to do this yourself," and he was like, "Of course I was. I was the mastermind." And he starts handing out. He's like, "Here is my plan." He starts like handing out his plan, and it's a book, and it's like My Plan by Sideshow Bob. Like it literally says like My Evil Plan on the cover.
Oh, there's so many good moments of this, but yeah, it's okay. Now you can get to the digging of the grave because I can't think of anything else to add.
Well, but he sends Igor to get the brain, and I love how like there's so many. This is another running gag. People startling themselves. So Igor sees himself in the mirror as he's holding Hans Delbruck's brain and like drops it. There's like a flash of lightning and he drops it. It's destroyed. So he instead takes one that says abnormal, and then Froderick, not knowing any better, just puts it into the monster, And then when they do bring it up, I mean, like it's very similar to the original Frankenstein movie with like the whole elevating the stretcher thingy up to the sky and lightning strike. And that, like I agree with your point. Like this does have the same kind of beats and almost like the same kind of like it could be an actual horror movie, or like it could be a legit movie and not a parody. Because in this moment, you're like kind of buying Gene Wilder as Frankenstein, because he's like, life.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like that whole
like,
scene,
really like
it's not really that funny in that scene. Like he's just literally just doing what you would do in a monster movie, right?
Yep.
And just the shot of it and the goggles, and he just looks the part. But I want to back up for the corpse really quick, because the whole segment there that I really thought was hilarious.
Oh, the arms coming.
Yeah, when he's talking to the. He's talking to
like the dead arm of the corpse hanging out of the cart, and the guy's like, "What are you doing? What are you up to?" And
my favorite part is like it's like how Gene Wilder has to like stomp his feet to get like him to do something. It's so perfect. Like it's not like it's a you know how they used to do in like Who's That Anyway, where they used to do the hands skit?
Yes, they put hands underneath somebody's arm.
Like this is like out, that's like this done perfectly, like way better than ever could do there, and it's just like so beautiful. I love how he just like goes like this with the hand.
Gene Wilder sells it so good too. It was like when it falls down, he's just like he's sizing something up, like. Like, yeah, this is how I naturally hold my hands, and you can see like one is clearly larger than the other. Like it's just like a tiny hand.
I just
my God,
that is such a great scene. That's when I knew this movie was going to be good. That moment for some reason, like going up to that point, there was like a lot of funny things, but I'm just like, okay, I see what this movie's trying to do. This is really really good stuff. I love it.
I'm trying to remember when. So the monster does like eventually, like when it does work, the experiment does work. The monster comes to life.
At first, it doesn't. They don't think it works. Remember, he thinks.
Oh, that's right. And they go to bed and they start, and then they hear him like.
That's the yummy noise. That's the yummy thing.
Yep.
So,
there we go.
But before that, we have like the introduction of the inspector, right? The Inspector
Kemp.
Yeah. So. Which I have to say, he's probably my least favorite character, even though he has great moments. Like
it feels like it could have been better.
The whole really the focus on making him do weird arm motions, I think, took that away a little bit. Like maybe occasionally, but like he's doing it way too much
all the time. All the time. Yeah, he's got a prosthetic arm, and I prefer the angle that his German accent is so thick that nobody, even the people, his own countrymen, can't understand a word he says.
Yeah, which
I don't have any lines for him because it's hard to. He's just like, but
I like how he can he after he says it though he says it clearly, like that's the running gag.
Like, I will ask the doctor some questions. Like what? Like I will ask the doctor some questions. And I mean, he's got one eye, prosthetic arm, and this terrible accent. So I feel like they picked too many things for him.
Yeah. So the one quote that I have, because I have a wiki quote up, just so you know.
Please.
I guess there's a wiki.
Give us a nice German quote.
A riot is an ugly thing, and I think that it is just about time we had one.
I remember that line. A riot is an ugly thing. Before you take a man's life. Just like the way he pronounces things. Like I feel like it could have been even funnier, if they just leaned into the way he talks. Yeah. But I love his meeting when he goes and he visits Frederick and they're playing darts. And
wait, I love how he just like sticks the things in his arms. Like he's like
Yes, that's where he keeps them, in the prosthetic arm, like shoots these metal tip darts. But Mel Brooks is credited as the voice of the cat that they hit with a dart at one point, because like one of them because the Inspector Kemp is like trying to see if Frederick is secretly doing something like his grandfather. So he's like and I would hate to see anything happen to you. Like, while he's trying to throw the dart, so he misses. Like one goes out the window. Like
and they all one little subtle thing I thought was really good that they all go in the tire, so it makes his car all flat.
And when he drives away, it's got like all of them are in the tire.
But
one of them is a cat though. Like one of them is a cat.
Yeah.
Like and that's Mel Brooks.
One thing, Mel Brooks doesn't really have a big role in this film, and I thought I was like looking for him the entire movie, and I'm just like, I was surprised.
It's voice stuff. He does.
I feel like I saw him in one of the rioters, though. I feel like he was one of the rioters, and it looked like him, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe. But it was hard to really see.
I don't know.
But yeah, no, there's like so before the yummy thing, I think when he's like frustrated, back up a little bit, where he's.
I know. I'm sorry. I know exactly what you're talking about. He's like slumped over the creature, like it's okay.
I wasn't thinking that, but that's funny too.
Failure is the greatest teacher. Don't be like
dignity. Dignity and grace.
To him, like they're like, oh man, he must be so pissed, and he's like, don't worry, don't fret. Failure is the greatest teacher. He's like, let's all go up and take a breather. Then he just turns back and runs to it and he's like hitting it. And he's like,
I'm gonna kill you, you son of a bitch!
Why'd you do this to me?
That's the range right there. Like that.
Want to live.
That's the range.
Want to live.
That's like that's the perfect example of range, right? But then like when he's up there eating. This is before the inspector gets there. The yummy thing. He's eating. He's like. I don't know what she calls him, Inga. Which we didn't mention the quote. Would you like to roll in the hay? That was a funny one, by the way.
Yeah, he got into the carriage with Igor to go to the castle. She was in there.
Roll,
would you like to roll in
the
hay? Yeah, lots of good songs in this, man.
But no, she's just like, but you're not even touching your food. And he just starts hitting the food.
There, I touched it.
there's a lot of good moments in this. It's just I think like when you're watching it though, because of the tone, like you just like it doesn't hit right. I think talking about it, like remembering it, is so much better than like.
It's definitely one we should watch together. Like you need to watch this with somebody to be like, did that just happen? Like that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So, but so then he wakes up. From being like, because they think he's the Igor is licking his food, and then he's alive, and he started doing good with him, but then like that's when you said, I think you mentioned this earlier, where he lights the cigarette for no apparent reason.
Oh yeah, like because it's fire that is the what the creature fears, and that's like from the original too. Yeah. So like for some he's like Frederick is trying to like show him how to walk, and they're walking and they're getting faster and faster. And then if you look in the background, you see Igor for some reason just like pull out a cigarette, put it in his mouth, and just like light an enormous flame and to light his cigarette. And the monster's like, ah! And then
they play charades.
Oh my gosh! When he wait, that's not the same part, is it?
Yeah, because then the monster starts.
Oh, he
starts stroking him. He's like three. It rhymes with head. Said.
Rhymes with head. Lead. Said. And he's like said. Second word. Little word. Is said what?
He said a dirty word.
And he's like said a give. So, rhymes with live, give. And,
like he's going like this.
And then after it's all done, they give the monster the sedative.
Yeah.
And he passes out. The first thing Gene Wilder just goes,
Sedative.
Which is, that's like, to me, that's exactly what you would say in that moment if that happened to you. Like, you would just be like, you'd be more frustrated at the fact that you were like, sedative was the word you thought of? Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, he nearly strangles him. He's sedated.
Listeners, I am literally hunched over with my hands on my head, just laughing. Go watch the video.
Oh my god!
And who's the creature?
After this, we get the what? Who's the creature?
Is that Dom DeLuise?
No, Peter Boyle. He was the father in Everybody Loves Raymond. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but
okay. Was he in other Mel Brooks movies?
Was he in another Mel Brooks movie? I know he was in Taxi Driver.
Okay, no, okay. I thought for some reason I thought that was Dom DeLuise. I don't know why.
After he gets sedated, the creature gets sedated, and they have the sedative scene. That's when they meet with Kemp.
Yep.
And all that stuff, and then after Kemp leaves, he comes back and he finds that Frau Blücher.
What is that? Seriously.
She's like released him and she's playing him the music, right? Mm-hmm. And like showing him like, look, he's, and then she reveals that she's she does the yes, like with the violin. Like, I love it. It was you that was playing the violin. Yes. So it was you that wanted me to find that. Yes. So you and my grandfather must have been. Yes. He was my boyfriend.
Which is such a funny thing again to say. Like that. Like I don't know why it's just in this movie where it's like so like very old and very dated and very like you hear the word like boyfriend. It's like
my boyfriend.
Like, and I think that's where this it ends up getting like later on with like the sexual innuendos like start increasing a lot. So like I mean as you get deeper, that's where I'm just like this is such a weird movie.
Deeper.
Yeah, but
I forget. I think like what do you remember what happened? Like you must. It was last night you saw it, but like sparks or something go off, or like a switch gets thrown and scares the monster again, and then he runs away.
Yeah,
something happens again like that. And I feel like it's like somebody throws a switch.
Yeah, then, I don't. Yeah, like, that sounds familiar.
It's like a fire thing that like, and he escapes the castle.
Yes. Right? Yeah, he gets.
Because that's when he goes to the little girl. That's like that scene is okay to me. It's fine. She's like,
I giggled with the way like I mostly only giggled because of how she fell in through the window. Like that part's kind of funny. It's just like
silently, like just sailing across and landing on her bed. Her parents come in and open the door. And that's it.
But the blind man was great. Like that's awesome.
Gene Hackman.
That's who that was. Wow.
You recognize him, right? Like I didn't until I was watching the credits the last time I watched it, like a few weeks ago, and I'm like,
who that was.
Oh my god, that was Gene Hackman. And sure enough, it's such a good scene too, because he's like Lord, he's a blind hermit living out in the middle of nowhere by himself.
Please give me a visitor.
Like, Lord, all I ask is just somebody to be a companion for me. And then all of a sudden, like a knock at the door. He's like, "Thank you, Lord." And just gets up and goes to the door. It's like, "Hello." And he's like, "Oh no, don't speak. Just come on inside."
Because he's a mute.
Must have been the tallest boy in your class.
He realizes he's a mute. That's why he says that.
Yes, he assumes that he's a mute. He's a very tall mute.
I love the whole like just the oh my god, it's just so funny how he gives him all the food. It's all slapstick, silly humor, right? But like there's something about like that actor that plays the creature, like it's just his looks.
He's like, hold your bowl out for soup, and the ladle keeps going like back and forth. And he pours it right in his lap. And like, how about some wine? And then they toast, and his cup shatters. Yeah. And
then he lights the cigar.
The cigar. Yep. And he's like, now hold out the tip until it starts to glow, and he holds out his thumb, and the guy grabs his thumb and just lights it. Mm-hmm. Just a minute, and he was like, and screams and runs out. But yeah, the blind hermit. Isn't it weird seeing that's Gene Hackman? Doesn't that make you think a little bit?
Blows my mind.
He's got range too. He should have been more of a comedic actor because he's great in this. He's also great in The Birdcage. And I've heard that Welcome to Mooseport movie is not too terrible, and that he's actually pretty funny in there.
Okay. But I don't think anything else happens there. I think eventually they catch him by playing the violin. They trick him to come back.
Yep, to get him to come back, and
they drop a net at him.
Oh my god! One of my favorite scenes this is my favorite scene. I'm sorry, even better than Sedative is when Frederick says like, "I'm going to ask you to lock me in the room with him. Love is the only thing that will, help this creature, and I will show him that he is loved. And no matter what I say, or what I do, or whatever terrible things come out of my mouth, do not unlock this door." And so he goes in, they lock the door, and he makes a noise, and the monster goes, "Ah!" And he goes, "Okay, let me out.
Let me the hell out of here. I was joking. You know a joke?
Did you take a joke?" and all at once, it just like all comes out. He's like, it's like, haven't you ever heard of someone doing a joke? Ha! Let me out! I'll kick all your heads in, mommy. He just like completely like breaks down, and then he turns to her and goes, "Hey, handsome." You're a good-looking fella.
When does this part happen now? And I'm trying to remember now because I'm like thinking about it. So like, okay, so he hasn't done that. Doesn't lead to the Broadway thing yet, right?
Yes, it does.
Oh, that leads to the Broadway thing. Okay.
Yeah, because then they're like, Dr. Frankenstein. Like, what's like, are you all right? And he's like, my name is Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it cuts to a theater, kind of like King Kong type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
With Dr. Victor or Frederick Frankenstein, presenting a wonderful scientific discovery or whatever. I mean, I think most people know about the musical number, like the putting on the Ritz.
Mm-hmm.
This is like probably the most famous scene from the film.
Yeah.
So like they do this very like he's like, I'll show you, and they're like, oh my god, like the creature, and then like he takes off his like gown and they, he's got like a tuxedo and they both do this putting on the Ritz, routine, which is funny.
So weird.
And then like a light explodes
for no reason.
And like a stage light just goes off, and then he's like 5, 6, 7, 8, come on. He's like, don't do this to me. Don't do it. And like the monster's like frozen like deer in headlights, and he's like, don't do this to me. He's like dancing along.
And they just start throwing things at him.
For some reason, these illustrious guests of the scientific community throw cabbages and carrots and lettuce heads and tomatoes at him. Like all of a sudden it's turned into like a medieval town square, and they're just like throwing like endless like vegetables and fruit at him. Oh man. And then he's eventually like arrested, right? He like charges into the audience.
Well, that's where he gets the chain. He's chained up. And then like when he goes, this is part so funny. It's like she goes back. He's like, he's all changed up, and then he goes like, "There's only way I can get away from your this torture and tension."
Oh
and,
yeah. And she's like trying to like, oh, how do I help you, doctor? How can I ease your tension? And he's like, I don't know what can be done. And she's like kissing every one of his fingers and like,
and then
finally.
And then
they go up on the like elevated bed to consummate that little relationship, and then it comes down because Frau Blücher. I swear,
I got it. Something. I don't know. It must be the cat.
But she tells him like, you wanted me to let you know when your fiance, or you wanted me to let you know if this was important, if there was something important. Your fiance is on her way. Like she'll be here like within an hour, and so Elizabeth comes to the castle, and
that scene is great. Okay, I don't know if you remember the scene where she comes in the castle at all.
We were with Igor, and it was like, Igor, would you grab the bags? And he's like, sure. You take the blonde, and I'll take the brunette. and he like bites the like mink or whatever like on her shoulder.
Yeah. So before the show, I was like, I wanted to like, I found on YouTube like clips. It's like Young Frankenstein in 5 minutes, just to kind of refresh from yesterday. And then I found there's a blooper reel. And
I gotta watch that.
Oh, it's always Gene Wilder that's messing up, which I find hilarious. He just laughs all the time. Yeah, he's like always laughing like every single time. It's all him, just like doing something and then laughing. But that scene was so funny because they show like the different angles of the shot. So like they must have done like angles where he's doing the scene but showing her her looking at them. Yeah. And so it's like you see that scene of him like biting the mink from the perspective of him behind her, coming from behind. And there's one blooper where he bites it so much it rips the foot off the mink into his mouth. It's so good. And like some of the bloopers, they must have edited it really good because I think it's the one they use, but then they continue on and they keep doing stuff. And there's a point where Gene Wilder and him just start dying laughing. Like it's like he's just like, because what's her name does such a good job at being like Elizabeth, the actress that plays her, like the whole time. Like the women in the blooper reel are always like very like serious and ready to work. Like they don't really mess up. It's always the guys that are just being ridiculous and stupid. And I always thought that was really, really interesting and funny.
Let me ask you this. Is this like the point in the movie where you feel like it starts to like fall off for you? Yeah, it's weird. Like I feel like they didn't know how to end this.
Yeah.
Because they have to have like the angry mob come after him. So the monster does escape, right? And then, they're hunting for him, but he captures Elizabeth.
Which that's the part that's weird. It's like out of nowhere, like she's just there to be captured. That's it.
And then he, he makes love to her, and she sees his enormous Schwanzstücker.
Yes, and the most the mysteries of life come to
sweet
her.
Mystery of life, yeah.
But that part was kind of disturbing, I guess, and maybe it's just me getting older, or just movies aren't made that way anymore. But literally, the monster raped her. I mean, like that's literally what happened.
yeah. I mean, like it's weird because she's like, okay, big boy, like slow down. Like I don't know. It is kind of funny, not haha funny, like strange funny to watch that now. No, I agree. It's kind of a weird scene.
It's awkward. I get where they were going with it. It makes sense. I feel like in a modern day,
she was so stingy and she didn't want to have sex with Gene Wilder, and it's like the first guy that comes onto her that's not Gene Wilder, like she basically falls into his arms. But let me see what else happens here. So Frederick does play the violin. He lures through the speakers creature back to the castle.
Wait, that part's great though, and I love it because it's like him playing the violin, but then you have Igor just sitting there with like music sheets and like waiting, and then when he gets he's doing the he's like tapping for the beat, like, and then he just like it's his turn and he plays his part and sits down. Because he has the horn. I
remember that.
I love that so much. I just love how he has like a music stand, like waiting to play.
Yep.
And one thing with Igor, like just to add one more thing with him, and I was wanting to bring this up, but I had forgot. Like this is way back in the beginning of the movie. It's when they all stumble upon the lab together, and there's just one little moment that just made me laugh, and it's not really anything he says. It's just something he does. It's more like what Frederick is saying. And he's just standing next to Eugene Wilder, and he's just being Igor. But all of a sudden, he for just some reason just like leans over and starts going like this to his arm, like he just is rubbing his head against his arm sleeve for no apparent reason. It just was so funny to me. I don't know why. It's almost like he was a dog, just like, "Hello, master."
Yeah, it's weird. Like there's a lot of those moments. Like what Igor is doing in the background is usually pretty funny. Like it's not like he's never just like standing still and listening. He's doing something.
Yeah.
But it's subtle enough you're like, what's happening?
Yeah. So then they get him back. He comes back.
Yep. And that's when the mob comes, right? They get him back and the mob is like following him, and he's gonna do some procedure to give him some of his brain.
The transference, mind transference.
Gene Wilder's transfer some of his intellect to the creature. And then the mob comes in and they're about to like arrest him, and then the creature speaks and he's like, "Let him go." And they're like, "Why should we listen to you?" He's like, "Because I'm the monster." And then what's his name? Inspector Kemp is like, "Ah, well, yes, I see that. Okay, let us go back to my house for
sponge cake.
For some sponge cake." And
then he pulls his, and then the monster they shake hand. He pulls his arm off, and he's like,
"Yep."
And then he just directs the arm to where he has to go. And then there's a weird ending because like at the end, like he looks like Gene Wilder's character, Dr. Frankenstein, is dead, but then he's just not. And then it's just like the ending is just they married each other. Like he married Inga, and
he married Inga, and he inherited. She was like, "Well, what did you gave him? Some of your intellect, but what did he give you?" He's like, "There was a transference. I've got some of the monster in me." And they're like, "Well, what did you get?" And he's like, "Of course, he got a penis from him." And then it just ends with him going, Wilder.
But before that, it's like I love the creature, like the sitcom thing, where that's so.
The creature.
She's like, "Honey, I've got a laundry basket in the bathroom for you. You can put this in there, and you put your poo-poo underwear in this."
Yes, it was like, I got this one for shirts and one for poo-poo underwear. Like,
and then she comes out with like
clearly he's still a monster that was reanimated.
Like the bride
she's
thing.
got the Bride of Frankenstein hair.
But like which I saw that coming because like even when she's like before that, like she even has like the way her turban is, right? And like her hair
turban. It's true.
I mean that's what he says, but like and like even like in the woods where he's like I'm gonna say he's raping her, but like her hair has those like streaks.
Yes,
through it.
After that, she does have the streaks because then they're like smoking, laying on the ground, and she's like, oh, like they're just like chatting afterwards, like they just had sex. They're both smoking a cigarette, and yeah, she's got the streaks, and she got like the streaks from that experience. I guess those, like Ash in Evil Dead, the streaks
or Rogue,
of white hair.
Rogue, I guess too. Going through a traumatic experience.
True. One at the hands of Magneto, the other from the Evil Dead, and one from the creature in the Frankenstein movie. But yeah, no, and that's just about where it ends, man. I love that like little sitcom ending of them. This one in another laundry basket for your poo-poo diaper or for your poopy underwear. It's like that's what life with a reanimated creature would be. But so let me ask you this, Justin. Would you watch this movie again by yourself? That's my first question.
No.
Would you watch this movie again with me?
With lots of beer.
Okay. Good enough. Good enough for me. Like I said, like I agree with your Mel Brooks kind of on the Mel Brooks scale. This is like a mid-range kind of thing. It's not great.
But honestly though, here's the thing though. I think about it though, the more I think about it, I mean like out of all the Mel Brooks movies I've seen, because I haven't really seen a lot of the what's considered like not popular ones. So like I haven't seen Silent Movie. Yeah, I haven't seen the ones that you mentioned we didn't really know about. Like I guess like if anything, it's on the very low end of it because I like a lot of Mel Brooks movies, honestly. Because I like it's above producers because this is more memorable, has more quotations to it, right? You can talk about it more.
One above Prince. What's it? Robin Hood.
Really?
Robin Hood, I felt was a little too winky, naughty. Like a lot of the humor in this that you felt was like too modern. I felt like I don't know. There's some good stuff in that movie. Like Dave Chappelle's in that movie. He's pretty funny. But
I really like.
No, I still think I put this one above it.
I mean, this definitely has a different tone to it, and maybe it's more of a film than just a comedy, I guess.
If I was to, I would say this is like a period piece. Like it's designed to be a parody of something that nobody's seen in like almost 100 years.
Yeah, you might feel that Dracula Dead and Loving is very similar in tone to Robin Hood Men in Tights, so you probably would. It's been a while since I watched both of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to like that movie, but there was something about it that seemed like it just.
Which one?
Was like too Dracula Dead and Loving It. That it was like too, like I don't know, too much of the like. I don't know, corny humor.
National Lampoon type style, like scary movie-ish.
Not like the subtle, silly stuff of like Gene Wilder and Cleavon Little, or
it's pretty good. I mean, I like what's his name, that actor that plays Dracula from Naked Gun.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson. I thought it wasn't Liam Neeson. Leslie Nielsen. I said Liam Neeson earlier, and I was wrong. Honestly, like I really like him. I always loved the Naked Bun movies growing up for some reason. So, and obviously, Airplane's a great film as well. With him.
Oh yeah, that's really his.
But like I just enjoy him, and like there's just one scene like that's in that movie, and we should just probably just maybe talk about that someday, maybe get a chance to watch that one. But like I remember really liking it. I thought it was really funny because that came out right around the that big Dracula movie that came around that time. That really big
the Bram Stoker's.
Yeah, so it was right around that time, and like I remember I'd seen that movie, and I love this way more, obviously, than that movie. That movie was just, I was trying to be too serious.
Yeah. No, this is. I think it's worth seeing this movie if you haven't seen this at all. It's worth seeing it with a group of people and just really like quieting yourself down because it is very.
It's short.
It can be slow paced.
It's not long though. It's not long. Like I was actually kind of excited when I went to go watch it last night because I'm like, I gotta watch this last night because I knew we needed to do it this week, and I'm like, Wow, it's only an hour and 45 minutes. That's really not that long of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time it hits like overstaying its welcome a little bit, it's like, okay, it's over.
It's getting out.
Yeah.
It's on its way out. So you're not. Yeah, and that's what I feel like. Like once the monster is recaptured, like I feel like they could have cut out a bunch of stuff between like the putting on the Ritz scene and the ending. I feel like you could have gotten to the ending a little quicker, but maybe they just like this is what they got. They had to make it at least like 90 minutes long, so they, they got to meet a certain time limit too, time requirement. But I'm interested because I know that there's deleted scenes in this. I haven't seen them. I think they're actually on the DVD that I have.
The blooper reel had some scenes that weren't in the movie. Like some,
I'm gonna go watch that right now.
It's not long, but yeah, it's just like extra scenes with like Gene Wilder and Inga, like him. Like there's a whole scene where he talks about the speed of light or something like that, and like they're trying to kiss. It really, I don't know where they would have put it. It's almost like they're extended maybe moments of scenes. That's what it seems like a little bit, but I don't really think it really adds to the story. But yeah, no. Overall, it's a good comedy. I like it a lot. I had a lot of memorable moments, and yeah, like you said, I'd recommend even if you are by yourself, just watch it. If you like Mel Brooks movies in general, because I guess there are people. I guess there's weird people that don't like Mel Brooks. I don't know why they.
There might be even people that don't know who that is. That's kind of scary. You should know who Mel Brooks is. Definitely at least watch one of his good movies. It's a gateway to others, just like Spaceballs. And was a gateway for me to Blazing Saddles.
Would you say that's a good gateway drug to Mel Brooks movies? Probably not, though, right?
This? No. I feel like this is for us who have seen a few of his movies and kind of understand that humor.
Yeah.
I feel like the ultimate like gateway is either you go the Spaceballs route or you go the Blazing Saddles route.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that humor because I don't think you can make either of those movies nowadays. Especially not Blazing Saddles.
I would say Spaceballs would be a better introductory for people that Blazing Saddles might shock people too much.
Oh, but it's so good. It's so good because it's shocking. It's so it's so on the nose and it's very smart about how it uses the language that it uses. But I think we should leave this bonus episode with the possible teasing of something to do with Spaceballs in the future. Maybe, possibly.
Probably soon.
Justin and I developed, long ago, a set of rules for a Spaceballs the drinking game.
Don't know where we even decided to do this, actually.
I don't.
We just randomly did it one day.
Yeah, I feel like we had watched it recently. We were like, we could make a drinking game out of this very easily. And we did. And it's like too good. It's too good. It's too good at its job of getting you.
We try to do others. We even try to do Blazing Saddles, and there's something. There's something about the pacing of Spaceballs and the timing of the rules that just perfect.
Yeah,
you got ebbs and flows.
The movie, I think, even funnier.
Yeah, like you got the. Yeah, go ahead. You can talk. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, because like a lot of these parody movies do have problems ending. Like, how do you end a movie like this? That's why I think Blazing Saddles is still the best. But I like the idea of like you're getting more drunk as the movie progresses, so you do get like even like the shortcomings. You're like, this is just great, anyways. I'm just so glad we got through that one part. And listeners, you will know what that part is when you see it.
Coming soon.
Coming soon. Well, all right, Justin, this has been fun. Enjoyed this.
Yeah.
One last time. Blücher.
I gotta fix the audio on this thing.
Something in the basement, maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, it's been playing favorites, right?
Correct. It has. I'm Paul.
I'm Justin. See
you later.